Hey everybody, I'm Tony Cottaspati and I'm here today to talk about why Joe Biden is a train wreck and why it's really not a good idea that you vote for him in a few weeks or even right now if you're mailing in your ballot. I want to go through a list of things that Joe Biden says he's going to do when he becomes president if the country suffers a suicidal tragedy and votes that guy in because he's a train wreck. And what do I mean by that? Well, what would it mean for Joe Biden to get elected to, let's say, the U.S. energy industry? Well, it would mean the destruction of U.S. energy independence, for one, and why? Why would it mean that? Because he's going to either limit or outright ban fracking. He's going to limit or outright ban oil and gas exploration. And he's definitely going to outright ban any more development of cleaner coal technology. So, you know those low prices that you're getting now at the pump? Goodbye. That's going to go away. So that's the first thing that's going to happen, one of the things anyway, that I wanted to list. The other thing he's going to do, he's going to have a complete reversal of all the deregulations that Trump put in, which were largely responsible for the good economy and business expansion. I want to remind people that prior to the 2016 election, especially people who know me on Facebook, I said prior to the election that if Trump were to win, we would see an immediate effect economically because, well, essentially because we were going from the most ferociously anti-business president we've ever had, Barack Obama, and the promise of an equally ferociously anti-business president in Hillary Clinton to, potentially, to someone who is absolutely ferociously pro-business, pro-American business, and pro-American worker. And that would have an immediate impact on the economy. And initially it was seen in the stock market. That was my prediction, and it happened. And it was really not that hard to predict. I mean, I was surprised that people were surprised that I predicted it. I mean, it was common sense. But I want to remind you of that because the effect of a Joe Biden election would be equally, but in the other direction. So Trump, deregulated massively. But have you noticed any diminishment in anything in your life since he did the deregulation? I mean, I'm not talking about what you may have seen reported on the news, which is, let's face it, the media is totally corrupt, and I don't exclude anybody from that. The media is very corrupt, and you're not going to hear the truth about what Trump is doing out of them. I mean, especially the left-wing media. The right-wing media will tell you the good things and they'll leave out the bad things, but the left-wing media tells you the bad things and then adds things that aren't true. I mean, so you can't trust anybody. But we do know that the economy did better after Trump got elected, and it was continuing to do better until we got attacked by the Wuhan Red Death. So there's those things. Then you have the other thing that Biden plans to do is increase corporate taxes. Now, I want to talk about this for a second because there's a lot of misunderstanding around this. Some people, especially on the right, will tell you, well, corporations don't pay taxes. They pass it on in the form of higher prices, which is really only partly true, and it really does depend on what you're talking about. In industries that are very competitive, that are very price sensitive, manufacturers or people, corporations, whatever they're selling, may not have the ability to pass on higher taxes in the form of prices. They may have to eat it and become less profitable. If they become less profitable, they can't hire as many people, they can't expand as quickly, they can't compete as well. And what then happens is the stock prices go down. Now, if you think that the stock prices don't affect you because you're just like a schlub that's not invested in the stock market, you don't make a lot of money, well, if you work for anybody that has a pension plan, you're involved in the stock market whether you realize it or not. All right? So it really does affect everybody. And once you lower, as Trump did, the corporate tax rate, what you do instantly is you make all businesses that pay corporate taxes more profitable. Now, I'll admit there are major corporations that make billions of dollars and somehow are able to avoid paying taxes. And that's a loophole that needs to be corrected because everybody should be kicking in something. But to say that corporations don't pay taxes or to raise the corporate tax rate would be a very stupid thing to do. First of all, in the cases where they could pass it on as higher prices, you'll get it as higher prices. It'll lower the stock market. It'll reduce employment. It has so many negative effects. You don't want to do it. Plus, one other thing, very important, the minute you lower corporate taxes and you make American businesses more profitable, what you're doing also is you're signaling to the world that this is a good place to invest your money. So we draw in foreign capital investment into our country. This is very important. That's what another thing that Joe Biden and the Democrats would destroy because they are not pro-business. And what else would Biden do? Well, he would increase individual income taxes. Now, he says he's going to lower income taxes for most people, but that's not really true. What he's going to end up doing, he's going to have to do it, is raise income taxes to pay for all the programs he wants to institute, unless he wants to blow a hole through the budget that's impossible to fill. So who will pay the taxes? I mean, Biden is going to tell you that the rich are going to pay the taxes. The rich aren't going to pay even more than they're paying now. And even if they did, it wouldn't be enough to fund what he wants. You'd have to eliminate the rich, which some people on the left want to do. Stupid idea, but they want to do it. You're going to pay more in taxes. Even when Bernie Sanders was talking about Medicare for all and all that nonsense and how it could all be free, people confronted him with the idea that, which was true, that, well, you're going to have to raise income taxes to make this happen. And if you noticed, Bernie Sanders' answer to that wasn't no. His answer was, well, you're going to pay more taxes, but it's offset because you're paying for your health care. I mean, that's what he was basically saying, right? So when you have higher taxes, unlike now, you'll have less money to spend. You'll have less money to buy things like groceries. I mean, just staples, normal things that you buy every day. So that's another thing Biden wants to do. The other thing Biden will do is that he will recommit the United States to the Paris Climate Agreement, which places really draconian limits on CO2 emissions in the United States, but it requires no immediate action on the part of the world's worst polluters, China and India. Does that sound fair? No matter what you think of climate change and whether it's caused by man or it's more complex than that, you can't go into an agreement where nobody's committed to anything except us, the United States. You just can't do it. You can't allow it. It's just not fair to everybody. And also, here's another point, too, as relates to China. If there was a Biden administration, Biden would have to promise to soften the trade position that Trump has established with China. China, which is an enemy, I mean, I know they're a great friend of Joe Biden, and he doesn't think that they're a competition for us. I mean, come on, man. I mean, they're not a competition for us, right? That's according to Joe Biden. But they're pretty good. They're very helpful to Joe Biden's family. I mean, that we do know. So there's that problem. But, you know, it also kind of just throws away the whole fact that Trump has very deftly used tariffs and the threat of tariffs to get better trade deals out of everybody he's been in negotiation with. And that includes China, it includes Canada and Mexico and South Korea and Europe. It includes all of them. So using tariffs as leverage is a good thing. And Trump has been doing that and been doing it actually pretty effectively. But a Biden presidency would also mean something that would be just absolutely catastrophic to this country. He would be an open borders and amnesty president, where now recent studies have said that we could see up to 50 million new immigrants coming into this country. I mean, what would that do? I mean, that's adding around 15% to the U.S. population over a very short period of time, just probably first term of 4 years. I mean, come on. I mean, look around your towns. Look at your school. If you own a home, look at your school taxes. Look at the taxes that you're paying. Do you have a lot of illegal immigrants in your town? If you do, I bet your taxes have been going up rather dramatically over the past few years. Imagine 50 million more people coming into this country thinking they're going to get free health care, free tuition, free everything. Wouldn't you come here? I mean, of course. So this is what Biden's doing. And it isn't that we don't want people coming into the country. We don't want people coming into the country who are unskilled, uneducated, essentially destitute, and are qualified for none of the jobs we currently have open. What we really need are scientists, technology experts, engineers, mathematicians. That's what we need coming into the country. Maybe not 50 million of them, but we need millions of them. And we should have an immigration policy that acknowledges that. But, you know, that's what Trump wants. That's not what Biden wants. Because what Biden is looking for, he's looking to create a new underclass. Because what's happening now is with the economy and with what President Trump is doing, he is lifting up a new black middle class and a Latino middle class, incidentally. And those people are no longer going to be dependent on the government. And the Democrat Party cannot survive without people being totally dependent on the government. That's why he wants to open the borders, because we have a third world country, if you haven't noticed, on our southern border. And a third world continent south of them. So there would be mass migration out of Central and South America if Joe Biden were elected. And also, remember this, if we elected Joe Biden, it would be a green light to all the street radicals we've been seeing burning down American cities and tearing down monuments and, you know, infiltrating Black Lives Matter protests. And yes, I'm saying that a lot of the people that are violent are not actual Black Lives Matter peaceful protesters. There are infiltration of those protests that become that instigate violence. That is happening. But if Biden were elected, it would be a green light to those people to continue doing what they're doing, because they're certainly not being punished. Joe Biden hasn't even said the word Antifa. I mean, much less come out against what they're doing. And remember, there are people, politicians in the Democrat Party in cities around this country that have already taken steps to defund the police. Have you ever heard of anything more ridiculous more stupid, more subversive than defunding the police? And oh, I know there are some people that say, well, they're not really defunding the police. They just want to take money out of the police department and move it over there to social services. That's defunding the police. If I told you, if I was your boss and I told you, Fred, you're not, I'm not defunding your salary. I just want to take 20% out of it and give it over here to Mary because, I just feel like doing it. But don't feel like I'm defunding you. I'm not. You're still funded, but, just funded at a lower level. Would you feel like you weren't defunded? Of course you wouldn't. You would feel like you're defunded, which is exactly what it is. And electing Biden would enable that, would certainly embolden those people. The other thing that Biden and the Democrats are now squealing about is that they want to pack the Supreme Court. Let me tell you something about that. That's a really stupid idea, and it also completely politicizes the Supreme Court as nothing more than just a political body and not even one that decides matters of constitutionality. Because, let me tell you, there's a history here. Back in 1937, Roosevelt, who was very popular, far more popular than Donald Trump, definitely far more popular than Joe Biden or even Barack Obama, Franklin Roosevelt was getting very annoyed at the Supreme Court because they kept striking down his New Deal programs as unconstitutional. And, his solution to that was, let me pack the court. And the Democrats in Congress said, you know what? Great idea. Let's try to pack the court. Well, they failed to pack the court. But you know what happened? In 1938, in the midterm elections, 70 Democrats lost their seats in the House of Representatives. 70. Okay? So that was the largest loss of seats in the House of Representatives. And the only thing that has even approached that was in 2010, after Barack Obama enacted Obamacare, and they lost, I think it was 64 seats in the House of Representatives. And they lost, I think, 6 more in the Senate. But the point here is there is a political cost to trying to pack the court. And if you think things are unstable and divisive now, wait till they try to do that. The other thing is, of course, I've completely ignored until right this second, is Biden's fitness to serve. Now, it's clear. I mean, if you want to be honest, it's clear that he lacks the stamina as well as the mental acuity to be president. I mean, let's be honest about it. I mean, let's be totally honest about it. Joe Biden was never the sharpest tool in the drawer. I mean, he never was. He's been wrong about everything. And he's never been sharp, but he has been very slippery. And there is reason to believe that Biden has used his position to enrich his son, his daughter, his brothers. He has 2 brothers. He has a sister. He's enriched them all. They all have contracts with governments, that he had to deal with while he was vice president. And they're a very wealthy family now because of it. Now, some of this is questionable in terms of its legality. A lot of people are saying, well, New York Times blasted a headline the other day, well, Biden broke no law. Well, it's not all only about the law. It's also about ethical behavior. It's also about having conflicts of interest. It's also about being susceptible to bribery or blackmail. And Biden's family has made deals with some of our worst enemies, like China. And that's the guy you want in there? Biden? So if you're sick of Trump's crudeness, what I've just given you is the alternative. This is what's going to happen if Joe Biden is president. And I'm leaving out a lot of stuff. He is the other choice besides Trump. The only choice. You really want this guy? I mean, I just don't believe anybody rational, knowing all of this, would think that he's better over Trump. I mean, as much as you could say negative about Trump, I mean, he hasn't done any of this. But I didn't even mention some of the other things that Biden and the Democrats want to do, like lowering the voting age to 16, forgiving all student loan debt, or making college free. Where are they going to get this money? Really, where? Establishing Medicare for all, that's a good one. I mean, Medicare right now is $40 trillion overpromised. Now, what do I mean by that? It's very important that you understand. By saying they're overpromised, what I mean is the program itself is promising benefits that it does not have the funding to deliver by $40 trillion into the future. It's over a period of time. So how are they going to do that? How are they going to make Medicare for everybody when now it's only for people over 65? So there's that. Then there's the Green New Deal. Then there's requiring low-income housing in all suburban towns and abolishing the Electoral College and more. I mean, folks, come on. Seriously? No. You can't really vote for Joe Biden, and it's my hope that you won't. That's it for me. Take care.